Over the next several weeks, I'm going to walk you through the 10 most powerful lessons I've learned since my herpes diagnosis. Today, you'll get an overview of all 10, and then in the weeks that follow, we'll take a deeper look at most of these lessons so that you can understand them, work with them, and apply them to your everyday life. My goal with this series is simple. I want to help you shift the way you see yourself and your diagnosis and what's possible for you. These 10 lessons are ones that pulled me out of fear and shame and helped me to build a life that feels good again. And if you're feeling alone, convinced you'll never be loved again, or struggling to imagine a future that you're excited about, these may help you to move forward too. So let's jump into it on this episode of Herpes Wellness. Hi, I'm Kat Dupree, and I help people to navigate life with herpes. When I was diagnosed with herpes, I fell into such a downward spiral. I thought that my love life was over and that no one would want to be with me again, and I saw myself as damaged goods. I replayed every decision that led up to that moment, and I beat myself up for years. On the outside, everything looked great. I had an awesome career, amazing friends and family, and I was still doing life as normal. But on the inside, not only was I dying, I was also terrified of anyone finding out, and I was completely disconnected from the outgoing person I once was. Fast forward to today, and I have the privilege to speaking to thousands of people like you about how to navigate life with herpes. I've started an online community called Herpes Wellness that offers a place of support and connection so that others don't feel so alone. And I'm in a beautiful relationship with the love of my life and living a life that I absolutely love waking up to. So what changed? I did, but it wasn't overnight. It took a lot of tears, a lot of inner work, and a lot of very uncomfortable lessons. And that's what I'm going to walk you through today. So if you're ready to shift your mindset, open yourself back up to love and build a life that actually feels good again, then these 10 things may help you get there too. So let's dive in. Lesson 1. Herpes is only skin deep. Here's the thing. If herpes was really the problem, everyone with herpes would feel exactly the same, but they don't. Some people get it and they think, okay, this sucks, but I can deal with it. And others, they feel like their entire world just collapsed. So what's the difference? The difference is that herpes brings up old wounds to the surface. These patterns start forming in childhood and shape who we become. Maybe there were times that you were bullied, you weren't loved, or moments you felt abandoned or told you weren't good enough. Then herpes comes along, and all those beliefs you've been carrying around for years start rearing their ugly head, because that's not only what you believe about yourself, but it's also what the stigma makes us believe too. This is why for most people, a herpes diagnosis can feel extremely devastating. So until you clear out all the bullshit beliefs you picked up long before herpes entered your life, it will be impossible to separate your condition from your identity. Lesson number 2. Your thoughts become things. Your mind is always listening, and most of what you tell yourself is total garbage. If you keep repeating negative thoughts, your brain treats them like facts, and you start living like they're true. Here's the bottom line. Your thoughts shape your energy, and your energy influences what you attract. If you walk around thinking that you're broken or unlovable, you will show up that way. And when you show up that way, your life literally reflects that back to you. But when you start choosing better thoughts, you move differently, you feel different, and you attract different things. It's simple. Change your thoughts and what you believe about yourself, and you change how you experience your life. Lesson 3. What you believe about love becomes your reality. There's a famous saying from Henry Ford that goes like this: whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. So if you believe that you can't find love because you have herpes, you're right. But if you believed, like I did, that you'll find someone who will love you regardless of your condition, you're also right too. The point here is that you create your own reality. If you decide that no one will ever love you, your brain will start collecting evidence to back that up. It will literally filter the world through that belief and hand you proof that you're unlovable. This ties back to your thoughts become things. And this is not just a mindset, by the way. I mean, this is your energy. Where energy goes, energy flows. And if you stay stuck in the belief that love is impossible for you, you'll keep attracting situations that match that energy. We focus on what comes to us, not the other way around. So you have to start getting clear about what you do want and not what you don't want. You have to tell the universe, your mind, and your energy where to go, because if you don't, it'll default back to I can't every single time. Lesson 4. Your power is in letting go. Now, letting go is not about pretending you're fine or stuffing your feelings down, okay? It's not ignoring what happened or acting like it didn't affect you. But that approach only buries them. Letting go works because you stop holding on to the things that keep you stuck. The emotions, the opinions, and the stories that you tell yourself about what a no means. When you release your hold on these things, even just a little bit, you create space to actually move forward. Here are the 3 things that I learned about letting go that helped me to get my life back. First, letting go of your emotions. Fear, anger, shame, embarrassment. All the feelings that convince you they're the truth about who you are. You stop letting them run your life and calling the shots for you. Second, let go of what people think. People judge, people misunderstand, and people project their own fears. It happens with or without herpes, and their rejection has everything to do with them and nothing to do with you. You can't control their emotions, and you're not supposed to. And finally, let go of your ego. Ego is the part of you that wants every no to mean something bad about you. But no is just a no. It doesn't define your worth, and it doesn't mean you're broken. Look, letting go isn't about forgetting what happened. It's about choosing not to let these things run your life anymore. Learn to let go, and you take your power back, not only from herpes, but in every aspect of your life. Lesson 5. Courage builds confidence. Fear convinces you it's keeping you safe, but all it does is keep you stuck. It tells you to hide, stay quiet, and avoid anything that might lead to rejection. And when you listen to it, you miss out on connection, love, and experiences that could actually change your life. Courage is what breaks that cycle. Courage is not about being fearless. It's about being scared and showing up anyway. It's telling someone about your diagnosis, even when your brain tells you not to. And it's talking to someone new, even when you think you might get rejected. Is it possible someone will say no? Yeah, it is. But someone can also say yes, and you'll never know unless you step up to the plate. And here's what's really important. Every time you push through fear, you build confidence. Not because everything works out perfectly, but because you learn that you can handle whatever happens next. Confidence doesn't come from the outcome. It comes from the courage to show up. Lesson 6. The scarcity trap will have you clinging to the wrong people. After my diagnosis, I fell straight into the scarcity trap. I convinced myself that the only people who would ever want me were people who also had herpes. Anyone outside that circle felt completely off limits. So what did I do? I latched on to anyone who showed me the slightest bit of attention, like they were my only one shot at love. The scarcity trap will have you holding on to relationships that drain you, shrink you, or break you, all because you think herpes limits your options. Here's the truth. Having someone is not better than being single when that someone is not right for you. And staying simply out of fear is simply settling. You don't have to settle. You don't have to stay where you are not valued, and you don't have to force something that doesn't feel right. You deserve a real connection, and you should walk away from anything that's not what you want. Lesson 7. Herpes is the best BS detector. You know, herpes has a way of bringing the truth to the surface faster than anything else. It shows you who is aligned with you and who simply isn't. And that clarity is actually a gift. Some people will say no, and that's okay. It doesn't make them a terrible person. It just means that they aren't your person. And you found that out early instead of weeks or months in. Herpes removes all the guesswork. It reveals who is capable of having real conversations, who can handle honesty, and who is open to building something meaningful. And it also shows you who wants something different than you without having to waste your time trying to decode mixed signals. The truth is this: anyone who steps back after you disclose is simply not your match. It's not a reflection of your worth. It's not a statement about your future. It's just information. Herpes doesn't make dating harder. It actually makes the wrong people easier to spot and the right ones easier to recognize. That's why it's the best BS detector you'll ever have. Lesson 8. Forgiveness sets you free. Look, I get it. Getting herpes can make anyone angry. You get pissed at the person who gave it to you. You blame yourself for choosing them. And you replay every moment trying to figure out how you could have avoided it. But here's the truth. Anger isn't going to undo your diagnosis, and the longer that you hold on to it, the deeper you stay stuck. When you sit in anger, your whole system pays the price. Your nervous system stays on high alert. Your energy tanks. You stop trusting yourself and everyone around you. You stop moving forward, and you stop letting good things in. Look, your feelings are valid, but if you never let them go, they end up running your life. There's a quote from Lewis Smedes that says, "To forgive is to set a prisoner free and discover that the prisoner was you." That's what forgiveness is. It's not about letting anyone off the hook. It's about letting yourself out of the emotional cell that you've been sitting in. Forgiveness doesn't happen overnight. Some days you'll feel really strong, and other days you'll feel pissed off all over again. That doesn't mean that you're going backwards. It just means that you're human. But if you want to heal, and I mean like really heal, you've got to stop locking yourself inside the same story. And forgiveness is how you walk out. Lesson 9. You can't heal in isolation. Look, I tried facing my diagnosis alone for a very long time. I kept my secret, and I held it together on the outside while I felt like I was dying on the inside. I told myself that no one would understand, and isolation made everything feel 10 times worse. The thing that changed everything for me, though, was connection. Talking to close friends and family, opening up to my partner, and being part of a community instead of letting herpes push me into hiding. Here's what I learned. Healing takes energy. Changing your life takes energy. And you don't generate all of that by yourself. You get it through connection. The right people will give you perspective when your mind is spinning. They calm you when you're spiraling, and they remind you that you're not alone. And there's something powerful about being surrounded by people who get it without you having to explain every little detail. You don't have to do this alone. And honestly, trying to do it alone is a big part of what makes you feel overwhelmed. Reaching out for support isn't weakness, it's strength. It's one of the smartest and loving things you can do for yourself. Connection pulls you out of isolation and gives you the strength to keep going. And finally, lesson 10. You get to write your own story. Herpes might be a part of your story, but it doesn't decide who you get to be from this point forward. You didn't choose to get herpes, and you didn't choose how it happened. But you do get to choose what happens next. You can stay in the same thoughts, the same patterns, the same fear, or you can decide that this is the moment you start living differently. A life where you stop settling. A life where you stop shrinking. And a life where you stop treating yourself like you're broken and start acting like someone who deserves amazing things. There's nothing more powerful than the moment you say, I'm done living like this. You're allowed to rewrite the story you've been repeating since the day you got diagnosed. And the fact that you're still here, still listening, still wanting something better says everything. That's not random. That's you choosing a new direction, even if it's one small step at a time. Well, that's all I have for today. If you liked today's episode, go ahead and hit like and subscribe. It helps us to keep creating this content and it helps the channel grow. Plus, it makes it so much easier for others who need this type of support to find it. Also, remember to join our herpes support community by downloading the Herpes Wellness app. The link for both the App Store and Google Play is in the description box below. And if you're liking this podcast so far, or if there's something specific you'd like for me to talk about, let me know in the comments. I would love to hear from you. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you the next time on the Herpes Wellness Podcast. Bye for now.